learning series, Hangout on Air. I'm David Beatty. I'm the Director of Technology at the International School of Stavanger, and I have a special guest today.
Holly Barnes. I'm a IB biology teacher.
So why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Not sure where you are on everybody else's screen, but I've got Diana on the end, so we can start with Diana, I think. We can't hear you, Diana. Hold on. How about Emily? Diana, we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Emily, you're live.
Hey. Hi, Emily. And are you hearing an echo?
Yep.
Let me close some tabs. Is that better?
No, it's still an echo. Who do we have?
Headphones. I'll tell you what, we'll edit this out afterwards. How about everyone just mute themselves when they're not actually talking? Does that work? Yeah, that'll work.
Okay. Now can you hear me without an echo?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yay! All right. Hi, I'm Emily Roth. I'm an elementary technology integration specialist at the International School of Kuala Lumpur.
All right, and next, who's next on our little list?
Mr. D?
Oh, it's Mr. D.
Oh, hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Do I have the reggae effect going on?
No, it's good. No reggae.
Okay, good. Mr. D here. I'm in Okinawa, Japan. I'm an innovation and learning coach at the Amerasian School of Okinawa. I'm also a middle school homeroom teacher, and I teach things like digital literacy and also music. We're a small school. Yay.
Okay, cool. Maureen's next on my screen.
Hi there. I'm Maureen Cullen. I'm the middle school technology coordinator at the American Embassy School in New Delhi. It's good to see you, David.
Hey, you too, Maureen. Max, you have to unmute yourself. Max, you're muted. Unmute, Max. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Max Wright, elementary tech facilitator at ISKL, like Emily. Nice to see you, buddy.
All right, cool. Welcome. Mike.
Hi, my name's Mike Hoffman, and I'm here at the American International School of Muscat in Oman, and I'm the elementary integration tech specialist.
Cool. Welcome, Mike. B. Sheridan.
Hola. Morning or afternoon, evening, whichever it is for you guys. I'm Ben Sheridan. I'm a PhD student here at University of Kentucky, and I work in the Arts Administration Department as an instructional designer.
Cool.
And I'm Marcello Mongardi. I'm middle school technology integration specialist at the American International School of Muscat in Oman.
All right, and back around to Diana if your mic's working. Let's hear from you, Diana. Are you live? Nope, muted. There we go. See if we can hear you. No. All right, Diana, we'll come back to you. Can anybody else hear Diana?
No, I think sometimes Chrome if she's using Chrome, it hangs up and you have to do a restart.
Yeah. Diana might have to do a reboot. So let's jump into our topic. We agreed on the topic of the digital divide. Are you getting an echo from me?
Pretty echoey.
Is it echoey? I'm going to change my mic.
I think this is actually the literal sound of the digital divide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now, or am I?
I can hear you.
Just have an echo.
Yeah.
It seemed to help when everybody muted their mic.
It did.
It did, because then David wasn't echoing. I think he's the source of the echo.
It works great. It usually works great. I don't know what's going on. So,
Yeah.
sorry about that. I'll try to turn off my speakers because I have to be able to talk.
Use your finger to cover the mic.
Yeah, I can do that. All right, so we're going to talk about the digital divide, and so I sent out a little blog post talking about. I think it was by George Couros talking about how he walked into a classroom. You could tell right away that this was a teacher, and he really saw a difference, and he kind of started this conversation in my head about what's happening with our teachers. And there are teachers that are connected and that are using technology, and there's others that have rejected it or whatever. So I threw up a few questions there, and I guess the first one is: do you see a digital divide among your teachers at your school? Is this a real issue?
Oh, can I kick it off? Well, you guys, it's deadly when you leave a pause, because I'm just going to jump in. I think, I don't know if it's a digital divide. I guess it ends up being that way, but I think it's a mindset sort of divide. Where there's this, mindset of someone else is going to do this kind of for me, or I'm going to wait around for the school to train me in something, versus I'm going to step forward and seek out, what's interesting to me, and I can do that through these networks. So that's where we come to the digital part, like where he was talking about Twitter and stuff, and it's kind of taking control of your own learning as an educator, I guess, and sort of how you want to start shaping your craft as a teacher. So that's kind of where initial thoughts on reflecting on that blog post.
Yeah, I think definitely there's a divide, right? Essentially between a connected teacher and not a connected teacher is what George Couros was alluding to. Like, a connected teacher is supported by a wealth of other people's experience that's informing her practice. On the other side of the divide, for a bunch of different reasons, not necessarily because they don't like the other side, or I think it's quite complicated why people are on one side of the divide and are not connected. Some people have no idea, like 5 years, 6 years ago, a community of connected teachers. And so I was definitely on the other side, Perhaps are uncomfortable with the huge shift in teaching or in philosophy that it entails once you start bringing other people's ideas and sharing ideas. That isn't first nature to a lot of people. Before Ben starts talking again, someone...
Yeah, come on, somebody, help me out here.
What do you think causes the divide? Is it choice? I know that I've experienced some teachers that just said, like, I don't think technology is not really the best way to learn. So what causes the
For me, when I thought about this, if we're talking about the technology divide, it kind of goes back to the mindset divide, because if you're going to traditional methods of PD, once a year waiting for current staff training, the way that the innovation or the change is evolving and transforming so rapidly with technology. If you're talking about a technology divide, you kind of have to be in the flow, and once you step out of for 6 months or a year, the divide is going to be real. And if you can overcome that or not.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting a bad echo from you. I don't know why.
Okay. I've got the buds in, but I had to take it out because I was hearing voices.
Yeah. Just back up for a sec there. I think everybody's on. I think everybody's muted now. I'll mute and then just say that again.
Okay. I guess when we're talking about a digital divide specifically, it's goes to a lot of the PD and the way that classroom technology and education technology is transforming and evolving so quickly that once you step out of that flow of PD for 3 months, 6 months, or a full year, things have happened incrementally for some people, but huge steps that are hard to overcome for others. And I think that's one of the challenges of us tech integrators and PD trainers is to keep that from half the people, that maybe traditionally went to a conference once a year or waited for, the quarterly or yearly, staff retreat time to work on technology. And I just don't think that's practical for the amount of change that's happening and increasing in happening.
So,
well, Dave, let's hear it from you. I think you're still muted, so I'm going to keep talking. Let's hear from you on your PD was actually getting teachers connected. So you took a bit of a different approach. I guess you have this PD where we're kind of talking about if it's tool focused, you're talking about one thing. But if you take something like Coattail, which is 5 courses, and it's more of like how to develop a certain mindset and how to become connected, and you kind of approached it that way by getting your community on Twitter, moving everybody in this space. So I'd love to hear more about sort of how that went, because it sounded really cool.
Yeah, well, I could always talk about that, I guess. You want to talk about that? Yeah, so what Ben's alluding to is we did a project this year where we did several sessions with our faculty, and as opposed to doing some discrete things, we showed them Twitter and got them connected. And it had its ups and downs. We had a fail whale moment when people couldn't actually
a literal fail
fail whale on the screen because we had too many people trying to create accounts at once. But overall, I feel good about it. Although I'll have to say that's the kind of thing that you definitely have to nurture, because I'm at the point now where I need to send something out again and say, remember when you set up Twitter? Because Twitter in particular tends to be that sort of thing where people look at it, they get interested, and then they don't really get hooked, and so they go away, and then they have to come back to it later. I think it takes almost 2 tries to get to Twitter, but okay, 4. Thank you.
I go with that one, yeah.
Always says yes. 4. But the idea was that they would be connected enough that, you get limited time with your staff, and so I thought, well, if we can get them on Twitter and they can find their people out there and build their personal learning network, then they'll be connected enough that they can kind of go on their own from there. And if they want to talk about 7th grader science or 8th grader science, and they can find their people and go do their thing. So I feel like that's definitely the best route. But we also have teachers, and I think all of you have the same thing, that have said, that's not for me. I'm not interested in doing Google Docs. I'm not interested in Twitter. I just want to do my job. And that kind of goes back to what Ben said at the beginning. I think is it's a mindset thing. And I know you can't spend all of your time on that side of the divide, but it's just something I've been thinking about lately, how to catch those people, because it can be a little bit contagious. If you have a group of people that have said, I don't want to use that, I don't want to use the iPad, or I don't want to use this. They can kind of be this little following about, like, that's kind of cool, I'm back to the basics too, I'm not going to use that stuff. So I don't know, a couple of thoughts there, but really I felt good about the Twitter thing. I felt like the people that wanted to be connected were, but then there's also this set of stragglers out there that I'm wondering, like, what's going to happen long term? Are they just going to lose their jobs, or are they going to be like a holdout in their castle of back to the basics? I don't know what to do with them.
Well, David, it's funny. I'd like to interject here. They're going to keep the job they think they have. Like you said, they didn't think it was part of their job, right, to do that stuff. So they'll precisely keep that job that they think they have until they don't have it anymore.
Yeah, maybe so.
I'm being super sarcastic, sorry, but yeah, they'll hang on to exactly the job they're defining it as until they don't have it anymore.
I think fear plays a big role for a lot of teachers. That I haven't heard anybody say that yet, but to cross that divide, I think they have to get over their own fear of failure and fear of change in order to integrate technology into their classrooms. So I think we have to come up with ways to make them feel more comfortable and start small. Yeah.
And I think part of the digital divide, for me at least, is the fact where some people actually see technology as this, extra part, that it is, as you were saying, David, that, oh, I don't want to do the iPad, I don't want to, do this next technological thing. They see it as a separate strand or something to the class. Whereas, and I think we talked about this last time we met, that it really is now just the part of the way that we live life. It's our lives are digitized in so many ways. And so in that article, when he was talking about going into the classroom and seeing the different posters on the wall, they didn't all have to do with technology, but that's what's so amazing about being a connected educator, is it doesn't have to be all about technology. That sometimes is the avenue, the right, not even a tool, but the way that really brings that learning to life. But it's just a way, whatever way you're connected with, whether it's Twitter, Google+, whatever it is, just having that constant PD flow, it can be a daily thing that you can just go through and boom, 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 check, and just one thing you could take away and try the next day, rather than, I can't remember who said it, but going to, your annual conference. That, anyways, those kinds of conferences, you get so overwhelmed oftentimes, and if you don't sit down that next week and, what are my top 3 takeaways, and then something I'm going to put into practice, then you're never going to do anything anyways from the conference. So I think that's one of the great things about being connected, is you have these daily, or as often as you go to those resources, but you can take away little bits at a time.
Isn't it funny how try as we may,
the idea of cramming.
Try as we may.
Go ahead, Marcello.
Try as we may, we always end up talking about technology, like it's the digital divide, and really it isn't. We're talking about this mindset, and it's to do with giving control of the process. It's to do with empowering the students. It's to do with inquiry, and then seemingly technology helps all of those processes, and I think all divide. And to cross the divide, teachers have to become comfortable with technology. But there's plenty of teachers who are comfortable with no control of their curriculum. Right? They make books in Book Creator, but and the kids have no inquiry, or so they haven't really crossed the divide. This divide we're talking about is also then being connected to other educators, and that's another part of it. So I think there's lots of different ways to cross the divide.
So it sounds like what you're saying is it's not really a digital divide, it's just sort of a progressive educator divide.
I think that sometimes
too. Maybe I'm defining it myself. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Maureen.
Well, I think sometimes too it's also about buy-in, and for example, when you do something like Hapara or Teacher Dashboard or Google Docs and or Google Classroom, and they realize how much easier it makes things, their workflow. Teachers buy into it so easily. And sometimes, like for example, we're looking at kind of reinstating our blogs again and using them as a warehouse, kind of like ePortfolio or a warehouse where that would be where parents would go. But I think it's hard for teachers to buy into it because they have their own systems. And so sometimes I think that's also a piece of it, is that if they're not convinced that it's going to make what it is that they're currently doing easier or better, without a huge amount of time investment, which so many times that's exactly what people say they don't have, you don't necessarily see them cross that line into, yeah, okay, we'll try something new. Yeah, okay, we'll try something new.
I think, Maureen, you hit it on the head. It's like you said, if it can't help them do what they're currently doing better. And I think sometimes, we try to cram the tech into what we're already doing, and that's why it doesn't work, is because we're trying to do the same things with new tools. So why would we want to do the same thing with something that will allow us to do things in new ways? So, rather than, I think sometimes we're used to starting at the beginning, and, we have a curriculum that's laid out, and we follow it step by step. And so then, along the way, we try and insert this tech here, tech there, and we're frustrated when it doesn't work because we're trying to do what we were doing before without tech. So, but if we start at the end, like sort of with like a backwards planning idea and say, okay, what are the learning outcomes we have here? How am I gonna, how can I achieve those learning outcomes? And, what steps along the way am I gonna build in to assess to make sure I'm progressing towards those learning outcomes? And what tools will help me achieve those learning outcomes? And then you can, realistically look at that and say, well, maybe I can take tech or whatever and insert it here. Maybe I could build a model. Maybe we could, do whatever and put it along the way to help me achieve that goal. So you're not actually doing what you were doing before. You're kind of reinventing the process to get to where you want to be. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think some of what we're talking about here is really just about school culture itself, isn't it? I mean, so Diana, is your mic working? You can just give like thumbs up. Or...
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's working.
Can you hear me?
So
okay.
I've got a specific question for you because at least from the outward-facing perspective, or I guess the view from the outside, SHECO has this appearance of being progressive school culture. A lot of people that are on Twitter and in other networks and that sort of thing. So first thing, is it really that way? And second thing, how do you get a culture like that? I mean, sometimes it just looks great, but it isn't. I don't know. But living there, I mean,
that's a fair question.
Is it real, and how did you get there?
We have culture there, the openness. I think there's a constant movement for improvement and reflection. We've got things to work on like any other school has. We made sure and using technology also really just getting a lot of advice to using the device tool. You have to expect teachers to do that. You can't just throw in up to tools and devices and iPads expect to change. You have to start with culture. I have this mic here, and I feel like it always, yeah.
Diane?
You're losing me.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm losing. I caught the first bit, and then you started going all robot.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, but it's something about the signal. Go ahead and give it a try, and I'll cut you off if it's bad.
Yeah, drunk robot voice.
Drunk robot.
Is any better? Maybe speak more slowly. We've done a lot. We have a lot of devices, a lot of resources, personnel at the school, but you still have to have good, effective teachers. And these are going to happen with good, effective, no matter tools and resources. Throw at them. So I think what you see on Twitter, that's all. Yes.
I don't think it's working. Maybe you could just go to the chat and put some highlights in there.
Okay.
Sorry about
You
that.
want to take a sec to introduce Brian? He popped in as well.
Yeah. Brian, introduce yourself.
Hi guys, sorry for the late pop in. I'm Brian Inskeep over at the Walworth Barber American International School in Israel, and I feel like I'm actually being a good example of some people who may be just getting into social networking and kind of the whole scene. What I've been doing is lurking, and that's I think this great way for some teachers to get involved in things like popping into Twitter and not feeling like they have to participate right away. You can kick back and you can absorb ideas from people, get ideas from your classroom, and it's a nice soft way to feel comfortable before you start sharing your own ideas. So that's the role I've been playing in this particular conversation, is just sitting back and soaking up the great ideas.
That's a good point, and Kuros in his blog post said something about that. So the teacher didn't say, "Oh yeah, I've been on Twitter since it was since it was founded, and I've got 10,000 followers, whatever." He said, "Yeah, I mostly just look at what other people are doing," and he was lurking, like you're saying, Brian. So I think that's one of the steps for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of teachers begin to do that. They pop in, they see what's going on, and then they slowly start to share other people's posts and build their network that way until before they know it, they're the ones who are sharing content. It's exciting to see people go through those progressions.
That's good.
Yeah, I think also I've noticed. Sorry, Dave. Sometimes it's like the expert teachers who are really reluctant. They've got it so dialed in, and they're really afraid of kind of opening the kimono or like coming behind the screen to see that it's kind of messy. Because what parents see is like this really clean, polished result, and the classroom looks great, and the kids are all well behaved. And then you throw like some iPads in the mix, and stuff just goes crazy, right? So they're kind of nervous that they're kind of opening themselves up to criticism, maybe. And I think you make a great point, Brian, because a lot of times when you do start lurking, you actually see how things actually build. So you see someone throw out something and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for some ideas," and then you can see how over a week or month or whatever, these things kind of get put together and people work together, and then the result, which is usually awesome and polished and clean. But it took a long time to get that way, and I think doing that in public, especially for like a veteran expert teacher, can be a little bit intimidating.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. I always love to see a process, so either a team or a teacher or whatever. I mean, everybody wants to show off. This is true with any social media, of course, but everybody wants to show off this awesome final product video, but nobody shows like the late nights and the crying 7th grade kids or whatever, So it's true. It's like you just have the real life side of it. I think that makes sense.
Well, and I think too, like, how many people here have been in Coattail? Raise your hand if you went through Coattail. But like the course 5, reflection. It's all about going back and saying, what would I do different next time? And that's like, I think Diane, in your drunken robot voice, we're talking earlier about reflection is a big part of what you guys do there, and that's so powerful to be able to admit that, hey, you know what, like I would totally change this next time because it wasn't awesome, but 80% of it was awesome, but I'm going to tweak it. And realistically, like as we've been talking about, things change so much every year, so every year we need to be improving and tweaking and moving things forward, trying different things, because every year we have different kids.
So I'm going to give Diane another chance there to she just rejoined. So just speak slowly, and we'll give it a try. We'll try to decipher the robot if it becomes robot. But we want to hear what you had to say too. So. No audio, Diane. No audio. Yes, bad microphone.
We're going to have to do just an SIS Diana talks about SIS Hangout, the whole thing.
Yeah, it's true. I think that'd be pretty cool. Hey, can I go back to Mike? Something that you said earlier on about PD. Can you talk a little bit more about the PD model that you guys use? And I think we've all been faced with this question of, or faced with this dilemma of offering a PD, and two teachers show up, and you spend a lot of time being ready and sacrificing your time, and nobody's there. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about you mentioned PD as sort of part of the solution, or part of helping your school culture move forward. So do you want to just tell us a little more about how you guys do that?
Yes, one of the big shifts that happened here is that each of the different levels, elementary, middle, and high school, went to a full-time tech integrator, which didn't have 100% classroom responsibilities, but instead was pretty much a PD role. Student support, yes, definitely, but the training for the staff is a key component of what we do. And in the elementary, I'm given at least one meeting of 40 minutes or so with the teachers in the cycle of 6 days, and I meet them where they're at. What are they currently doing in their curriculum? What are the frustrations? And if things are going well, what are they ask me, what are some of the things that we could be doing? And it's that consistent meeting with them in their space over and over again, not waiting for that release half day where then they pick from a menu of things to go learn about. Instead, I have to learn about what they're doing in their lives rather than kind of the reverse of, okay, this is what I have to offer, come and hear about it. I go to them and I listen first and then sprinkle in the tech from the opposite direction.
So Mike, it sounds like you're talking about the relationship really with the teacher. I mean, do you find yourself having to get to know the teachers first before you're effective, or?
Yeah, I definitely think so, because I think it was brought up earlier that fear is part of this. Not knowing what the work is going to be involved, is the amount of what I have to do. So there has to be some and honesty, and they're looking for sometimes an answer from me. Should we really be doing this much? And I have to help them evaluate. Well, that we could do this, we could do that, but really, is that going to maximize the amount of time that it takes to get there, or maybe we could do less and put more into someone else. So, but it's definitely a people business. Teaching always will be a people business. The relationship with a teacher and a student in the classroom needs to be carried over into PD with that same philosophy that a PD trainer, if that's my full-time responsibility, I should be investing in knowing them, and I could sit down and have a conversation about each one of the teachers and what they do.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more from the coaches about how they build the sort of relationships with teachers, to show that, they're not just a techie, but they're actually an educator, and they want to support the learning that happens in the class. They're not there to make sure everybody's using technology. They're there to help kids learn. So I'd love to hear strategies from the tech coaches on how they build that relationship.
Well, I can start real quick because I've had a bit of an interesting year, that kind of figuring out where to go or how to do exactly what you're talking about, and then part of being a connected educator is recently for me is this book club, this kind of virtual book club we've done, talking about, which is really a marketing book for technology, about how to get
So you're freezing, Marcello.
To that in this conversation is just to talking to teachers about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Why are you even interested in sitting down with them? And where do you want to go with them, rather than show them tools? You know, like, we want our kids to own their own learning. That's why I'm going to show you what I'm going to show you, you know. Mike has, I think, 9 new teachers next year, so in a few months it would be great to talk to him about developing new relationships, and have him talk to us about how that went at the beginning of this next year.
Yeah, how many people just drop in, you know, just do like, you know, they call them drive-bys, where you just kind of walk the halls, and if you see a teacher sitting in their room hanging out, you know, just pop in and talk, and you're not there to talk. You know, you're more there just to ask questions, like, hey, what's going on in your class? You know, look around the room, make some comments on what you see on the wall, like, don't bring up tech. You know, it's funny because sometimes when you do that, the first thing they want to do is start talking about tech. But you're like, actually, I just want to hear about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and, you know, learn about their teaching history, and, you know, sort of show that you're interested in them as an educator, not just as, how can I, you know, justify my position by making you do all this tech stuff.
Yeah, I think, Ben, that's a huge part of the coaching role, is developing those relationships, and yeah, so that people see. I mean, especially if you have been in the classroom, I think that gives you a lot. Sorry, I've got the prayer call going. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But yeah, I think that gives teachers a lot more, I don't know, almost faith in you, that you've been in their shoes and know what it's like. But I do try to do that and take the talk away from tech. But it's hard because I know, you know, they're just sitting there, they have a load on their plate as well, and I don't know, sometimes that's one of the struggles that I run into is balancing that and not making people feel like, I don't know, like they have to, you know, come up with something.
So Emily, are you saying when you stop in to talk to somebody, you feel like they're busy and they don't want to, they just want to get things done, like they want to talk about their tech thing and then that's it?
Yes, sometimes, you know, it's with some teachers that I feel like that more than other teachers, and I don't know what it is. This is only my 2nd year in this role, and so I'm leaving the school this year, which is unfortunate because I feel like now I'm finally in a place where I've really developed relationships with people, and they, you know, definitely trust me more and are willing to do more and take more risks and do more co-teaching. So we're still moving away from the model of the tech teacher and moving more into empowering them as learners and you know, not just using the tech when I'm there. So I've seen great progress in that, but yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm almost bothering people. So I don't know, it's just that I took the coaching, the Aduro course with Kim, and that was a big relief, learning about how when you're coaching, and I think Ben or Marcella, you mentioned, it's not really about the tools. Like coaching, it's really all about the learning, and so having those conversations with people. But going back to what we said in the beginning, it's that mind shift thinking, because they're just coming at it as, all right, you're tech, so what tool can I use for this? It's like, let's cut to the chase, because I only have 5 minutes to talk to you sometimes.
Very true. And I think that's going to be a future topic. The instructional coach versus tech coach versus, you know, what's happening to that role. I'm excited to talk about that in the future at one of our other events, you know, whoever leads that one.
That'll be Diane at the beginning. She's starting to dominate the Hangouts now. That and the SIS one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's Diane's, right. Diane, should we try your mic again?
Okay, I'm trying it without the headphones, without the mic. It's just a bad, okay.
Much better.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you couldn't. Yeah, I'd be happy to talk more about that. That's even at our school, we're really making the shift from tech coaches to learning coaches, and we recognize that a couple years ago when we had this infusion of technology, and now we've done that. We're looking more, which we always have, but to look more at. It's about, like you said, it's about the learning, and so our teachers are more and more capable, and the teachers are becoming more and more capable of handling a lot of the tech they want to use themselves. And so our role has to shift to what the teachers and in the students need. And we're not having to provide as much support tech-wise. And so we can now focus a lot more on supporting learning in general. So I'm making the shift from a tech coach to more an instructional coach.
So Diane, how did you get to that point where you did less tech support or less tech coaching? What was sort of the magical recipe there?
I think just a lot of people were open to learning more about using the technology in the classroom. It's been pretty much like a 3-year journey so far, particularly with our Director of Learning Innovation, John Burns, coming in and really taking leadership on that. And we had a lot of, I think it just grew, and then when this kind of people that were right away, like early adopters, and then other people saw what they were doing, and then, okay, do this too. It's that building capacity is starting with the people that are really ready to do it and building them up, and then there's different ways you can look at it. In the book that Marcello mentioned, Crossing the Chasm, it's the same kind of ideas that you have different groups that are kind of different at different times. And so we're able to accelerate that, and then each year this is my second year as a coach. My teacher worked with heavily last year. I'm not working really at all this year because they can do it on their own. And then now I'm working with teachers who are more open to trying out how to use technology more effectively for their lessons.
So, sorry, Dave, if you don't unmute yourself, I'm going to talk first. No. One thing, as you're talking, I'm like, yes, that's awesome, woo! But so, what does a CV look like, or what does a resume look like when you hire? When we're talking about moving away from like a tech coach to more of a, like a learning coach, what does a resume look like? How do you hire for that position? You got to have like that curriculum side. You got to have the tech side. You got to have the the teaching down. So yeah, I mean, I'm thinking from like an administrator's point of view, like who do you go after for that sort of job?
Well, I personally have some background in instructional coaching, which is coaching and coaching skills in general. I think it was one of the last ones I had a quick conversation with Sean Kirkwood. He was talking about, Patrick Green was mentioning as well, is anyone in any kind of like instructional coaching position now really needs to have an understanding of the technology. So I think it's a tool. They're tools that can be used in instruction. So I think you're really, people who are good practitioners. They work well with others. They are just, a good coach, someone to encourage people, model for them, work with them, teach with them. So I think it depends on what the school's ready for. They're still where they really want a tech integrator, for somebody to come and really show people how the technology can work. But if that shift happens, then you're looking more for people who can support the instructional, which you really want with the tech integrator as well. So I'm not really answering the question. I think you're looking for the right combination of somebody who's got strong instructional experience, but also the coaching aspect as well. And then I never go in as an expert on anything, so it's really me working with the teachers. I think it's an attitude as well.
I mean, I think that ties in also, all different schools are on different... Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Bye, thank you.
Bye.
She has to go feed the...
No, I have to go move the rats from one classroom to another.
Have fun. Great to meet you. Thanks for joining.
Sure, thank you.
I think schools are all in a different place, right? And so, like I often think when I go into a classroom, prepared to talk to a teacher about the learning that's going to happen, and wonder that Sophia, wonder if I have that mandate. You know, like I'm a technology integrator, and you're really going into someone and you're advising them on their craft, and they might feel like you should be advising them on the settings of their iPad, and that really needs to be made clear. So depending on where your school is on that continuum is what you hire for, or how you blend those two jobs together. And so a lot of it is in the titles that people carry. You know, if you're a technology coach, or if you're a learning coach, or you know, and so making that shift can be delicate. Diane called it a shift, and I think that's exactly it, right? It's a big shift in the school's mindset, and some schools are much more deliberate about it than others are.
I think having that experience in the classroom is essential, and that's why co-tellers are, I think, moving into so many of these roles, because they have the experience in the classroom, and they have now this tech side. So when you're in the classroom, you at least have that sense of curriculum. You may not be the, you know, curriculum coordinator, but I don't think that's necessary. I think you definitely would still need a curriculum coordinator, and then someone in this role that we're talking about would then partner with them. We're building a new school in the next, well, few years, and they had come to us and asked us where we thought the different departments should go. And so originally we were talking about, okay, well, we'd have the tech, like informational literacy, so the tech would be near the library, and the integrators like myself would be near all the technicians. And the more that I've been thinking about it, particularly since Kim's coaching course, I was thinking, no, they should be in the curriculum office. Like, it should all of the, because it's, once again, it's going back to, it's all about the learning, and we're all there to bring teachers to that place. So there, you know, we should be in meetings together and have each other as resources nice and close.
I'd like to underscore what Emily's saying right now. I mean, if there's not a compelling, holistic curricular reason to do something, then there's also not a compelling, holistic curricular reason not to do something. It's all about the curriculum. If it's not, then it'll all just boil down to, like someone was saying, gratuitous explanations for iPad settings or something. And, you know, that's so 10 years ago. So yeah, it's all about curriculum, all of it.
So, boy, we've jumped onto our second topic already there, the the tech coaches versus instructional coaches, and I feel like there really is a whole nother session behind that. But
I think a learning coach can subsume a tech coach productively, like optimally. It was just like Deanna was saying earlier. She may not know the answer for everything, and she doesn't bill herself as an expert. It's just the person who is trying to know and is willing to learn one step ahead, or even a half a step ahead. That's enough, and then really in line with the curriculum. I think they can subsume part of the older role of a tech coach or tech engineer.
Yeah, you know, yeah, I struggle a little bit with some of these things, because, you know, like I've said before, like, you know, people are, you know, say, how is education changing, or how is technology changing education? And, you know, they're like, well, it's not. It's changing the world, and we exist within that world, you know. So, you know, part of me struggles with, like, well, my mom doesn't have a tech coach, you know, when she needs to learn how to use FaceTime on her new iPhone. And then I think, well, actually she does, because she calls me up and says, how do I do this? So we all need support. You know, we all need support in for the various things we do. So, you know, sometimes cynical me says, you know, oh, we don't need tech coaches, we need, you know, instructional coaches, but
like Ben, if you like for your example, if we take it and actually hold it to itself even more strictly, was it your mom or was it your grandma? Sorry, either one.
My mom. Yeah.
Yeah. Her curricular reason is because she loves you and she wants to see you or talk to you, right? I mean, she has a strong, compelling reason. Right. There you go. She has a overriding, overarching, compelling reason. It's not like she's like, gee, let me just see what FaceTime can do for the sake of doing it. And I mean, that's in that sense, that's her curriculum. And that's why my grandma rocks the hell out of FaceTime too.
Yeah.
Not for I don't have any kids, but my sister has kids, and that's it. So as long as the teacher sees, oh yeah, it's for that thing, it's because we're as teachers supposed to be more like students in that we're modeling ongoing lifelong learning. Oh,
well, I think it comes to motivation, you know, and like we were talking about before, it is a mindset. So are you motivated to move your craft forward in this direction? And if, you know, I remember I had a reading and writing specialist at a school I worked at who didn't think that blogs had any place in a school. They were of zero value, you know, and to me, like, oh my God, like, are you kidding me? Like, but no, she had no motivation to move into that space, you know, because she thought pen on paper or pencil on paper was you know, the end all be all. So she didn't have any motivation to move beyond that.
In her former life, she also hated Gutenberg.
So I don't know. I guess I digress a little bit, but I guess what I was getting at is sort of motivation. I mean, you know, mindset, motivation. You know, but how are we as coaches? You know, we have to be so multidimensional, and we have to let go of what we really think is important to make room for who we're coaching and what they feel is important. So we need to value what, and I think that, you know, what I was talking about earlier is valuing who we're coaching, you know, holds close. We have to understand and respect that, even though we may not see the value because we're coming from a different space. But if we can we respect that value and let them hold on to that value and show how what we're bringing actually supports that and enhances that, I think that's kind of where we kind of get our in.
Yeah, and then I think that kind of. Go ahead.
And Ben hits on something I wanted to talk about earlier when my mic wasn't working. I'm a little reluctant to always use the digital divide because it puts people into two camps. I think it's more about the motivation, the motivation to improve your craft. And are we doing it as schools, as coaches, as professional leaders, helping teachers find those PLNs, whether they're at their own school or on Twitter, or we have had some very powerful things happen by getting the right teachers together who are interested in the same thing that can help each other grow. So I think we do, the technology brings lots of other opportunities and resources, but it's how it's used. And how are we supporting the teachers who want to improve their craft, helping them find resources, making connections, whether it's through Twitter, through meeting with other teachers in the same building.
Yeah, and Diana, I've actually used that same type of motivation to improve their craft when I did this Twitter project this year, because you know I knew I didn't. You can only take so many withdrawals from the bank, so to speak, with changes and new ideas and new tech stuff, and so that's how I hooked people in the beginning. Was, you know, you're going to become a better teacher through this, and that was one of my motivations in even doing this Twitter project. Was I wanted them to, like you said, improve their craft. So I like that phrase, and I think that's a really good perspective to have. So. How are we doing on time, guys? I know we're getting close to 3. I don't know about your schedules around the world, though.
Yeah, I got to get my kids home and feed them, so.
Yeah. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to try to take a copy of our chat on the side. So if you chatted something, and there's some good links in there on books and that sort of thing, I'll try to grab that and I'll put it in the notes section of that shared document. Really quickly, I'll just put that link in the chat, so that'll take you to the shared doc that we've been using there, with all the I'll put this in there as our notes. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
So
this is the end of the road for this school year, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So I'll make sure that everyone here has access to our little folder, okay? And in there is a template to well, we don't have to go through this live, but anyway, people can add topics that they're interested in for next year. There's a form there. We can add topics, and we'll lead it, and you'll be able to work it out. So I'll make sure everyone gets a copy of that.
So we're looking at August. Huh?
Yeah.
And that might be Diana kicking us off.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So awesome to see everybody. Love these chats. Super
Have a
motivating.
great summer.
Yeah, enjoy. Thanks for the great ideas, everybody. Look for the recording.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.